Oh hey, I didn't see you there. Now that our PlayStation 3 controllers are clean, and one of them is working properly, it's time for some games.
The PlayStation 3 has a vast library of awesome unforgettable games. Some of the best games have been ported or remastered on other consoles, while leaving behind an older version of the game on the PlayStation 3. This doesn't make older versions of the games completely irrelevant, as some of the older versions can still be enjoyed in some ways.
Like Minecraft PlayStation 3 edition.
It's an older version that doesn't contain any of the updates released since the introduction of the Bedrock edition, so reaching and defeating the Ender Dragon can be easier to achieve than with some of the later versions of the game. A lot of the games on this list are also not PS3 exclusives, but this is my list of my favorite PS3 games. These are the games that I enjoyed on the system.
So deal with it, Ross. If you don't like it, make your own list in the comment section below. Also, leave a like and subscribe in order to achieve your dreams.
With most of my favorite titles on the PlayStation 3, they released a trilogy of games, or sometimes even less than a trilogy, so some adventures are bigger and better experienced as a whole. I was also busy working on a list of games that I want to see on the Nintendo Switch in the future, until I realized that that list is mostly the same as this list, so consider parts of this list as that list, if any of it makes sense.
So without any further delay, let's get right into the games.
Before I start, I just want to mention a few honorary games that didn't make the list. Echo Chrome, the Assassin's Creed series, Terraria, The Saboteur, Limbo, and others.
Nothing against these games. I just discovered Terraria on the Nintendo Switch, and the rest of them were just...
Let's start by getting Uncharted and The Last of Us out of the way. These games are around the top of everyone's top PlayStation 3 games list, and there's a reason for that. They are masterpieces of their time, and still hold up in the gaming world today.
Tomorrow might be different.
Uncharted follows the epic adventure of Nathan Drake through 3 awesome titles on the PlayStation 3. This series is a benchmark for games that few have managed to match. There are beautiful environments to traverse, and intense combat sections to get caught up in through your journey. This series feels like a mix of Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider, but it is good enough to be its own thing. There is a ton of action, and moments that will have you on the edge of your seat. The standout title in the trilogy is Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, but all 3 games are definitely worth a play. The Last of Us is considered to be one of the best games ever made. The game follows 2 survivors making their way through a post-apocalyptic United States. Its rich story and gorgeous world mixed with the fun gameplay and tense moments makes it a game that everyone should play at least once. The graphics and gameplay are some of the best on the PlayStation 3. The problem with a game this good is that it is hard to create something different that is better. Developer Naughty Dog has set a benchmark so high, but will probably be a long time before they manage to pass it themselves. Mashing buttons while kicking ass is the pillar upon which gaming is built.
Hell yeah!
We all love a good fighting game, even if it's just on their special occasions or for short bursts of time. Although the PlayStation 3 doesn't have Super Smash Bros, it has an awesome list of fighting games, as long as you don't include PlayStation's All-Star Battle Royale on that list. Although feeling a bit better on the Vita, PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale feels clunky on the PlayStation 3, and just never made sense to play when there are so many better fighting games.
How about you try some of these instead?
If you like fighting with weapons, there's Soulcalibur 4 and 5. In Soulcalibur, you get a range of fighters each wielding a different weapon to either take down your opponent or knock them out of the fighting area. There isn't much storyline in this game, and is best enjoyed with a friend, but the fighting feels just different enough from the rest of the games that it stands out. Oh, and you can create your own fighter wielding one of the available weapons, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool.
If being immortal is more your thing, then there's the 9th installment of the main Mortal Kombat series, titled Mortal Kombat.
Don't look at me, I didn't name the game.
Mortal Kombat was a reboot of the series and has given me and my brothers hours of brutal 2-player madness. It features everything we love about the series, with tons of breaking bones, gore, and brutal fatalities. The series can be a bit more difficult to newcomers to the franchise, but once you got your combos down, it's time to kick some ass. There are different modes to keep you busy and unlockable items such as costumes, combos, fatalities, and pictures.
Why?
If you like games that offer an array of different martial arts styles, there's Tekken 6 and Tekken Tag Tournament. I've loved the Tekken franchise since my arcade days, and have grown with the series through the years. Although I haven't played any of the new games released since the PlayStation 3 era, this franchise holds a lot of fond memories playing with my friends and family, kicking their asses, getting my ass kicked, and calling each other assholes for picking Eddie. Both are great Tekken games, featuring a huge roster of mostly unique characters for you to master, and tons of content to keep you and your friends busy for a while. My favorite fighters are Steve Fox and King. Who are yours? If fighting in the streets is more your thing, you have Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 4 was the first original main entry in the series since Street Fighter 3, which was the previous main entry in the series before the release of Street Fighter 4. With updated graphics and some of the most iconic fighting characters in gaming, Street Fighter 4 manages to deliver on the street fighting experience we all love in an all-new updated gaming experience. It might not have become the new most popular title in the franchise, but it felt like a new move in the right direction and offers a stellar fighting experience. If you're not sure whether you like fighting in the streets or if you like Tekken, you can always go with Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Street Fighter Cross Tekken combines the best elements of both franchises, while obviously still leaning towards being a Street Fighter game more than a Tekken game. It is still fun to see characters from these two iconic franchises clash it out in this title. If you like ninjas and anime, there's the Naruto Ninja Storm Trilogy that features a huge cast of characters and storylines from the Naruto series. My favorite pick in the series is Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3, as they improved and perfected the formula in this title. It features a fun world to be explored, and stories to be relived in the single player story mode. The best part of this game has to be the multiplayer fights that can get really intense at times. You need to plan your blocks, dodges and attacks at the right time, and then some other shit as well in order to beat your opponent. The series has a big learning curve, and it can be difficult to pick up, so please don't pick on less experienced players in multiplayer fights, and first give him a chance to learn all the complex mechanics.
Please, Sean, just give me a chance. Please!
My overall favorite fighting game experience on the PlayStation 3, especially in a couch multiplayer scenario, has to be Ragdoll Kung Fu, Fists of Plastic. This game might look silly at first with its strange characters and their weird movements, but it has a lot of charm to offer. As a single player game, it's not that great, but with some buddies on a couch, you're in for some fun times kicking butt and competing in mini-games. Another genre we love kicking back to are racing games. Once again you're in luck, as there's a great deal to love from this era. Burnout Paradise offers intense races and crashes in a big open world. The open world can get a bit boring after a long playtime, but offers a great sense of freedom. There are some features in this game people like complaining about, such as not being able to restart races, but those people are full of shit.
Yeah, that's right. Take that.
One of the most iconic racing franchises, Need for Speed, also graces us with Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted. The series focuses on illegal street racing and there are police, and for some reason, that just makes the perfect combination. The series does feel a bit stale and oversaturated in recent years, but some titles in the franchise just hits right and remain timeless. If you're looking for something more realistic, you can't go wrong with Gran Turismo 5 and 6. The games have some of the best graphics on the PlayStation 3, and it breaks away from the regular arcade racer to give you a more precision-based gameplay. I shouldn't actually list these games, as they are not really my cup of tea, and the only two games on this list that I've never personally played. But I did enjoy watching my older brother try and get through all the challenges, and it seems like he was having fun, while I had a fun experience watching him.
So I want to mention this franchise in case you're also my older brother.
On the other side of realism is the futuristic Wipeout HD, with intensely super fast racing fun. The game takes some of the best elements from the previous entries in the franchise, and gives one of the smoothest gaming experiences I've enjoyed on the PlayStation 3. It can get really tough at times, and requires split-second timing that can serve as a roadblock for some players, but feels rewarding to overcome. If fast-paced racing is your thing, this title is not to be missed out on.
Stop! Let's take a break and slow down with the puzzle platformer PixelJunk Eden.
PixelJunk Eden puts you in the shoes of little acrobatic creatures named a Grimp. You make your way through vector-styled gardens, jumping and swinging from plant to plant in order to collect pollen. When you collect enough pollen, you can unlock new plants to help you reach higher places and to collect the spectra in each garden. The game's music puts me in a good mood, and it's a ton of chaotic fun when you team up with more players. Even without a storyline, this game still has a lot going for it in terms of gameplay, and is usually my choice for chilling out between bigger games on the PlayStation 3. Bioshock, Borderlands, and Mass Effect are all amazing series that are widely available on other platforms.
But they were introduced to me on the PlayStation 3, so that is the console I mainly associate them with.
In terms of Bioshock, I love the intense moments and discovery the first game has to offer, and I feel that the sequel is the best follow-up they could have done in terms of the storyline. The first two games explore the underwater city of Rapture after it has been thrown into chaos and people have lost their minds. The gameplay is really fun, and there are some pretty cool power-ups that you can unlock. In terms of Bioshock Infinite, yeah, it's fun, and improves on the gameplay mechanics of the first two games, but it doesn't give me the same intense feeling that the first two games did. By no means does this mean that Bioshock Infinite isn't a fantastic title. It is still a recommendation on my list. It just feels different compared to the first two titles, so would you kindly give all three of them a chance? As opposed to the underwater city of Rapture in the previous titles, Bioshock Infinite takes you up into the sky to the flying city of Columbia, that makes me feel less claustrophobic than the previous two titles. Borderlands 1, 2 and the pre-sequel are awesome first-person shooters with a vast alien world to explore and get lost in. Take on the mantle of a Vault Hunter as you fight your way through tons of aliens and psychos in this awesome first-person shooter franchise. Each Vault Hunter has their own unique abilities, and playing through the story in split-screen co-op with my brothers elevated the overall experience for me. The second game and the pre-sequel brought loads of welcome improvements to the table and improved on the flaws of the first game. But in the end, the first one still remains my favorite. This franchise features an awesome art style, more guns than you can eat, and a humorous storyline that keeps you entertained through all the gunfire. The Mass Effect Trilogy is an amazing space odyssey about a commander named Shepard. The franchise is filled with action and has a good fighting system once you get the hang of it. There are tough choices that impact your story, and relationship building with your crew that makes them feel less like secondary characters and more like friends. The coolest part of the franchise is that your save file can be carried over as you progress through the series, with choices you make in one game affecting the next, sometimes in major ways. The games have been remastered for modern consoles, but in doing so, they have removed a lot of the butt shots, making it feel like it is no longer the original vision the creators had for the series. So playing them on older consoles is the best way to fully immerse yourself and have the full butt experience. The second entry in the trilogy is my favorite in terms of storyline, and it has Jack, where the third game has the best combat experience, but less Jack.
Still some Jack, but not enough.
If you're looking for something truly horrifying, there's the Silent Hill HD collection featuring HD remakes of the second and third Silent Hill games.
But this collection is trash. The most horrifying part about it is how bad of a job they did remastering it.
So if you're actually looking for a terrifying game, rather go with Siren New Translation.
Or as the English would call it, Siren Blood Curse.
This game was created by the same team that made the original Silent Hill games, and it scared the shit out of me, to the point where I had to call my older brother to come play some of the parts for me while I just watched. Siren New Translation is a stealth survival horror game that puts you in control of different interconnected characters, trying to uncover the truth and escape from a cursed village filled with a dead cult. It captures a horrifying element I haven't encountered in many other games, and I would love to be able to play this game on my own someday, when I'm old enough. Looking for some horror mixed with shooting? But it's time to face your fears with the Fear franchise. This series took something truly horrifying to every gamer, and made us face it.
Ah! A girl!
Underneath it all is a great first-person shooter series from this era, dealing with the eerie and supernatural, and it is still an enjoyable story till today, with the third game in the storyline being my favorite when playing co-op. Resident Evil 5 went with less horror and more action. It still features zombies and terrifying opponents, but something about being able to falcon punch your enemy makes the situation feel less intense. It is still a good action shooter and a great entry in the series with an enjoyable couch co-op experience, as long as you have a big screen.
Cause the split screen is like...
On the less horrifying side of horror is the wacky Dead Rising 2 and Dead Rising 2 Off a Record that puts you in the middle of a zombie outbreak. In the original Dead Rising 2, you play as former motocross rider Chuck Green, who is on a mission to uncover the truth behind the outbreak, rescue survivors, and escape while trying to prevent his infected daughter from turning into a zombie. Dead Rising 2 Off the Record is a reimagining of the game, featuring journalist Frank West from the first game as the main playable character. Both versions features tons of zombie fun, with my favorite part being the ability to combine different items into stronger weapons, and then cause more havoc. The games feature some fun stories, as well as a sandbox mode if you just want to fool around and have fun with the game's mechanics. PlayStation 3 might not have Halo, but it has a Halo killer in the form of Killzone.
Yeah!
The story in Killzone follows a futuristic galactic war between the Interplanetary Strategic Alliance and the Halkan Empire. Even though it never managed to kill Halo, the Killzone trilogy is still an awesome pick when you're looking for some shooting action.
Yeah, about that.
The first Killzone originally released on the PlayStation 2 and was given an HD upgrade on the PlayStation 3, and the results feel like a PlayStation 2 game with better graphics. The controls feel a bit clunky and the experience feels a bit outdated on the PlayStation 3. You can change the button mapping, but overall the only reason to play this on the PlayStation 3 is to get a deeper understanding of the world. Killzone 2 and 3 on the other hand was built for the PlayStation 3 and offers some of the best first-person shooter experiences this generation had to offer. The storyline might not be the strongest, and like with many first-person shooters, a lot of the game's fun lies in the online multiplayer, but the titles offer an immersive experience that few others can achieve. It sometimes feels like a lot of the shooting franchises peaked in this generation, even with the lower frame rate. One of those franchises that come to mind is Call of Duty, with their Modern Warfare and Black Ops series.
Admittedly, if you do take the multiplayer experience away from these games...
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare helped break Call of Duty away from the World War II setting and opened up the doors to the franchise. The two sequels, Modern Warfare 2 and 3, are some of the best titles released in this franchise and are well worth a try. The Call of Duty Black Ops Trilogy, on the other hand, offers a bit more offline with the revamped and actually good zombie modes. The storyline was fun to play through, but ultimately it's the multiplayer and zombie modes that keep me coming back to the series.
But wait, Call of Duty Black Ops 3 does not contain the co-op mode or the campaign mode. It only contains Disappointment, multiplayer and zombie mode.
Let's get real. Zombie mode was where it lied for me and my friends. Black Ops 2 is our most played title in the series, with many hours spent playing Transit and the unlockable Dead Ops Arcade. Probably my favorite first-person shooter series on the PlayStation 3 is the Resistance Trilogy. After aliens called Chimera invade Earth, it is up to you and the Resistance to stop them, rescue humanity, and save the world. Resistance offers an amazing storyline filled with thrilling moments, chaotic battle, lots of alien blasting, cool alien guns, and fun. I would recommend playing the entire series as the story is worth experiencing as a whole.
Oh, and before I forget, the entire series offers you the ability to play the game's campaign in split-screen multiplayer, if you own a friend.
A game that didn't get the highest rating, but still had an impact on my time with the PlayStation 3, is Wet. Wet is a third-person shooter, and the reason that I like this game is that it makes you feel fucking cool. The story follows the heroine Ruby, as she acrobatically shoots and slashes away through tons of gangsters to achieve her objective. The game judges you on the moves you use, so killing enemies creatively gives you more points to unlock upgrades and abilities. The art style and music in this game is superb, and the way that they make things feel like an action movie adds something extra to the overall experience of the game.
Speaking about being wet,
developer Quantic Dreams released two strange but amazing titles on the PlayStation 3, namely Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. Both games have some strange controls to get used to, but once you get it down, it's a blast to experience. They also offer PlayStation Move support, if you're into that kind of stuff. In Heavy Rain, you take on the role of 4 different characters during a time when a young boy is kidnapped by the infamous origami killer. As Ethan Mars, the mentally unstable father of the kidnapped boy, drug-addicted FBI agent Norman Jaden, the reliable detective Scott Shelby, and the snooping journalist Madison Page, you have to try and unravel the mystery behind the origami killer in order to save a boy named Sean before the rain drowns him. The game has a gripping story with some intense moments that can affect the overall outcome of the game. Beyond Two Souls features an amazing cast of characters, including the Joker himself, Willem Dafoe. It follows the story of Jodie, a girl with a supernatural entity linked to her, and gives you a glimpse into the different moments through her life and the discovery of what lies beyond. Just like Heavy Rain, the game offers loads of intense moments and a storyline that managed to grip me till the end. The PlayStation 3 era showed us just how amazing open world games can be. One of her standout series for me is Far Cry. Far Cry 3 sees you having to save your friends who were captured by pirates on an island. You get thrown into a huge open world with enemies and wildlife trying to kill you as you have to become an action hero. The game's antagonist is a brilliantly portrayed character, and the game offers a great story. Open worlds can sometimes get a bit boring, but in Far Cry 3, you always feel like you're progressing, either through skill points, collecting items for crafting, exploring new areas, and capturing territories. Far Cry 4 improved on the overall gameplay, and you could now ride animals such as an elephant, which is good enough reason to play the game. It once again offers a fun open world to explore, more things to do in it, and a story worth playing through. When I think about exploration, freedom, and fucking things up, Just Cause 2 comes to mind.
But only if you like having fun.
At the start of Just Cause 2, your character jumps out of a helicopter into an action-packed jungle filled with soldiers. It feels like a celebration of action, and focuses more on having as much fun as possible, as opposed to being completely realistic. You have a grappling hook and an endless supply of parachutes, that makes exploring this huge open world never feel dull. There are loads of missions, soldiers to help put to sleep, vehicles to forcefully borrow, bases to destroy, and territories to claim. This game rewards you for destruction, and makes the path towards messing things up feel so much more fun. If you want to have fun causing havoc with some superpowers, you can't go wrong with Prototype. Featuring a huge open world city to explore using your strange new powers, and a story that you can tackle at your own leisure. It is a great series to dive into, although I remember the second game feeling less fun than the first. As you progress through the story, you unlock new abilities that give you new ways to get around and cause more chaos. While we're on the topic of games with superpowers, Infamous is another one of my favorites, featuring the badass Core with his new flashy electricity powers in a city thrown into despair after a huge explosion.
The game is super fun and can be defined in a single word. As a
As you play through the story, you unlock new abilities making you feel truly powerful and making the gameplay more fun. You also need to choose between making good decisions and making the right decision. Good decisions will make you look normal and make people like you more and even have them come to your aid, while making the right decisions will make you look badass. Being good or being right affects the powers that you can unlock and use, and has an overall effect on the world around you. If you want even more Infamous, you can also pick up Infamous 2 that continues the story, and Infamous Festival of Blood that features a vampire-themed storyline and cool new vampire powers to use.
Hell yeah! It's Morbin time!
If you're looking for something like Grand Theft Auto that goes over the top, you can't go wrong with the Saints Row series. A series that doesn't take itself too seriously. It offers loads of fun and havoc. The storyline and premise keeps getting more ridiculous with each game, making it stand out from a regular Grand Theft Auto game. Saints Row the 3rd is where the series really shines and is my favorite title in the series. If you're looking for something closer to a real Grand Theft Auto experience, then might I suggest GTA 4 and GTA 5. We all know and have probably played GTA 5 on more than one console. I mean, it's been around since the PlayStation 3 era and is still popular today. Grand Theft Auto 4 looks muddy like a lot of games from this era in gaming. Something about the game does feel a bit off, but if you can get past all the brown, there lies an awesome Grand Theft Auto game with one of the best storylines in the series. If you're looking for a Grand Theft Auto game with cowboys, then unfortunately, Red Dead Redemption is so much more than that. Presenting a deep story, fun gameplay,
and horses! You can't forget the horses!
This is one of my favorite games I've ever played on the PlayStation 3. The story takes place in the Wild West, and you play as former outlaw, John. After your wife and son gets taken hostage, you set out on a wild quest to take down members of your former gang in order to free your family. The gameplay is very similar to Grand Theft Auto, but the amazing story and world that has been created lets this horse stand on its own two legs. There is a fun zombie expansion to this game called Undead Nightmare that was also released as a standalone title, but it doesn't match up to the original game, so beware of picking that one up or trading in your original copy of the game for that one thinking that it contains both.
Who would ever make such a dumb mistake? That is totally an unrealistic scenario. Fuck!
The Guitar Hero and Band Hero games have faded as a memory of gaming's past. If you do manage to get some guitars and other controller instruments for the game, it's loads of fun to masturbate alone, or even more fun to jam out with a whole band of virgins. The games are rhythm games that are played by pressing different buttons on instrument-looking controllers, or sometimes even singing, and it pumps up the virginity level all the way to 11. Still, loads of fun. You feel so cool when you manage to play Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas without the virtual crowd booing you. The game offers different difficulty settings for different skill levels. Just don't get too good with the hardest difficulty, as it is at that point in time when you stop feeling cool. Each title in the series offers a new playlist of songs, and some of the games could even download more songs as DLC.
This is coincidentally also the game that taught me that if you buy a game on your US account, it won't work on your European copy of the game.
A game that became unobtainable until its re-release on modern platforms. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is my favorite beat-em-up game on the PlayStation 3. The game follows the storyline of the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels, where Scott has to defeat Ramona's evil exes in order to date her. The game features a bunch of playable characters from the Scott Pilgrim story, each with their own set of moves. The world is vibrant, and with a pixel art style that perfectly suits the overall experience. The story can be enjoyed alone, or with up to 3 extra friends, and there are even some mini-games such as Dodgeball for a bit of more competitive multiplayer fun.
I know the game is no longer obtainable on the PlayStation 3, unless you try really hard.
A game that many fans hated, but still stood out for me on the PlayStation 3, is DMC Devil May Cry. People didn't like the rebooted story or the character, and there were many faults to be found with this game, but I still had a heck of a time with it. It offers the hack and slash fun that the series is famous for, and a story that keeps up with it. I was skeptical about this game at first, and must admit that it might not be the best Devil May Cry game out there, but it is still a heck of a game nonetheless, and worth a play on the PlayStation 3. A game I wish to someday beat when I'm old enough is Dark Souls. It all started for me on the PlayStation 3, and after all this time, is still an epic experience on the console. The game can be brutal at times, but equally rewarding when you manage to get to the next area. You need to memorize enemy movements and attack patterns, and pray a lot in order to survive. Even though I still haven't managed to complete the game.
Yet!
I do strive to be a man that can accomplish that one day. The Dragon Age games are standout RPGs in the PlayStation 3 era. Out of the pick, I definitely enjoyed Dragon Age Origins the most, as it offered an engaging plot and improved on the game's formula the most. The game offers loads of choices that can shape your story, from your starting race to unique dialogue choices that can make scenarios turn into a fight or just be a footnote in your journey. No two playthroughs feel exactly the same, as there are so many different ways to approach each scenario. Dragon Age Origins truly feels like a game of Dungeons and Dragons brought to life on the console, and is a journey worth taking if you're into those type of games. If you have a pain threshold that can last for about 4 hours, then Final Fantasy XIII is a beautiful adventure to experience. A lot of people originally complained that the game feels like a very linear game.
Have you ever played Final Fantasy X? I love that game!
I have to admit that Final Fantasy XIII is not my favorite Final Fantasy title.
That award goes to Final Fantasy IX, because of Sexy Armor Dude.
But that doesn't make it a bad game at all. Playing this game just after playing Crisis Core made the combat feel a bit slow and disengaging at the beginning. But once you get a bit further, it is no longer a case of using auto combat, and I had to start making tough choices myself. The start of the story can feel a bit slow, but once you get past the beginning part of the adventure, the world feels so much richer and fun to explore. The visuals and animations in this game stand out like most Final Fantasy games did in their era. They also released 2 sequels on the PlayStation 3, titled Final Fantasy XIII 2, which improves the maps, and Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy XIII, which improves on the combat. Sadly, both of them decline in quality of story compared to the original entry, but they are still hours of fun to keep you busy. If you're looking for a terrific RPG to sink hours into, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch is a recommended choice, bringing you amazing adventure with an unforgettable art style and characters only Studio Ghibli can bring. After the death of his mother, Oliver and his fairy friend Drippy set out to a different world in order to save her soulmate. The game offers an awesome world with lots of environments to explore, a wonderful storyline, a fantastic battle system, lots of Scottish voices, and even includes the option of taming Pokemon to use in battles.
I'm pretty sure they're called Pokemon.
My favorite RPG experience on the PSP was Persona 3, and on the PS Vita it was Persona 4. Persona 5 brings back everything I loved from those games with a uniquely awesome art style, from the world to even the menus. The game's story takes place between the real world and the metaverse. In the real world, the game plays off almost like a dating simulator, where you have to complete certain tasks such as going to school, joining clubs, and befriending different people. The metaverse, on the other hand, paints a cruel contrast to the real world and is filled with enemies. It offers good RPG mechanics and a fun battle system that includes the ability to use monsters, that can aid you in battle. You can convince certain monsters to join you, and they can even be fused with each other in order to create a new monster to use. There's a lot of planning that goes into this mechanic, and you should be careful of ruining the perfect monster with a fusion. I'm looking forward to replaying all 3 of his titles on the Nintendo Switch. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is one of the best games from the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era, and it is easy to see why so many have fallen in love with it, from its engaging world to gripping storyline. This game is a masterpiece of its time.
So yeah, although being a great game, I wouldn't really recommend it on the PlayStation 3.
Despite being a game that I would highly recommend, it suffers from too many problems on the PlayStation 3 for me to recommend it on that system. From memory problems to miserable loading times, I would recommend that you rather play Skyrim on your fridge. A game I would recommend, however, is The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Oblivion was the game that finally made me decide that I also wanted a PlayStation 3. Oblivion takes place during the Oblivion crisis in the Ragdoll region, and sometimes feels like it is a better experience than Skyrim. Skyrim stands out with its updated graphics and vastly improved gameplay mechanics.
Oblivion, on the other hand, offers a hand-to-hand combat skill, and that is enough for me.
The game puts you in the shoes of an escaped prisoner turned adventurer, and through a twist of events, you now have to put an end to the Oblivion crisis. There are vast lands and big cities to explore, loads of different guilds to join and rank up in through their own unique missions, an extensive list of skills to level up, hordes of different monsters and creatures to fight, and DLC that is actually worth being called DLC. The game doesn't come without its problems and bugs, yet it offers one of my favorite worlds to explore in the Elder Scrolls series so far. With a rich story and thousands of quests, you won't easily run out of things to do in this game.
Fun fact, Oblivion is also my dad's favorite game. Do with that information whatever you want.
The next games on this list have often been referred to as Oblivion with guns.
At least by me.
Setting you on a journey through a post-apocalyptic world, Fallout 3 and New Vegas are entries still worth playing to this day. If you prefer gameplay and features, you should go with New Vegas, but nothing in New Vegas compares to the stories and choices you have to make in Fallout 3. In the games, you make your way through a wasteland lost in time after a nuclear war. The world is filled with survivors, bandits, mutated creatures, and cows. You need to explore and scavenge your way through the harsh new world in order to accomplish your goal. You get a fun arsenal of weapons to learn and master, a good leveling system that keeps pushing you to push it to the limit, and tons of junk to collect. Just like Skyrim and Oblivion, the games do not come without their bugs, but that is what we've come to expect from a Bethesda game. One of my favorite parts of the game's world has to be the radio stations that play music that adds on to the overall feeling of being stuck in the past. These two titles, along with Oblivion, are games that I would love to see get ported to the Nintendo Switch. If going on a journey is your thing, then might I suggest Journey. Journey is a game about going on a journey.
Oh yeah, it's also a good game about going on a journey.
In Journey, you embark on a long journey towards where a beam of light is shining on a mountain. There is no combat in this game, but it still manages to offer intense moments with a gorgeous world and puzzling story to uncover. You can gain some extra length on your scarf throughout the game by collecting certain items, which allows you to glide further. The game manages to offer a fun experience getting to the light. There are tense moments and moments that make you feel weak against the elements of this world, and all you can do is try and move forward. Like some people say, it is not about the destination, it is about the journey. When I think about an epic adventure, then South Park's Stick of Truth is the first thing that comes to mind. Join the cast of South Park as they embark on the most epic adventure ever in this crude RPG. A simple game turns into a life-altering situation, and you along with your friends need to recover the Stick of Truth in order to save the town. There are tons of laughs and tons of moments to cry.
Just watch out for your dad swinging balls.
Speaking about an epic adventure, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots has more cutscenes than gameplay, but that still doesn't stop the game from bringing one of the best Metal Gear Solid experiences ever. The game is packed to the brim with moments that only Kojima can craft, and brings it close to the story of one of the most recognizable characters in gaming, Solid Snake. God of War 3 was the perfect title to end off the original God of War storyline. The game follows Kratos as he ascends Mount Olympus to take care of the other gods. It has awesome hack and slash style combat and focuses on combos and looking cool. Some of the bosses are of such a colossal scale, but they function as levels themselves. The graphics are amazing, with a story epic enough to match. There is a reason everyone raved on about this franchise, and that's because...
It's good.
There were a lot of failures when it comes to the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater franchise, but one of the titles that managed to get it right on the PlayStation 3 was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. A simple HD upgrade of the first game in the series, it brings back all the missions and skating fun from the original, but now with updated graphics. If you're looking for an old school skating experience, this one is one I would recommend to go with. If you like more of a challenge and more precision in your skateboarding games, then the Skate series is one to look out for. The game offers a more intricate skateboarding control scheme and can be a bit difficult to get into at first, but offers a fun relaxing time once you've got the controls down. One of my favorite unique experiences on the PlayStation 3 has to be Mirror's Edge. The game follows a runner called Faith in a futuristic dystopia as she tries and clears her sister's name of a crime she didn't commit. While a lot of companies were trying their hands in the first-person shooter market, developer DICE decided to use less guns and instead opted to go to the rooftops and created an awesome parkour experience unlike any other I've experienced before. The game's plain white style with a mix of bright colors adds to the game's world and also aids to guide you while running through the stages. The combat is a bit clunky, but still offers enough to get the job done.
Did I mention that this is a parkour game?
Sounds and shapes. Two things that are pretty cool on their own, but put them together and you end up with something as fun as Sound Shapes. Sound Shapes is a 2D side-scrolling platformer with a focus on music. A basic song plays as you progress through each level, and collecting note coins evolves the song by adding an extra piece of sound to it. The game also offers the ability for you to create your own levels, using a set of sounds, shapes, items, and coins. Unfortunately, the online functionality of the game has been discontinued, but it features music by deadmau5 and Big, so there is still something left to be enjoyed. Fun for the whole family. Little Big Planet 2 was the first major title my brothers and I could enjoy together without feeling guilty about ignoring the age rating. In this side-scrolling platformer, you play as a Sackboy that you can customize with given outfits and outfits that you unlock through the game. The levels are great and the gameplay is enjoyable, allowing for loads of chaos in multiplayer. You can also use loads of tools to build your own custom stages, which is where a lot of the fun comes in. Sadly, the best part of some of these games are no longer available, as you can no longer upload or download user-created levels in some of them. The offline mode in the game is a bit short, but it is still a great series for a couch co-op multiplayer session, as you can try and get each other wiped out. One of the most interesting games that I love on the PlayStation 3 is Portal 2. It is played from a first-person perspective and forces you to use your most powerful weapon,
your brain.
The game gives you a portal gun that can shoot 2 portals that allows you to travel between them in order to solve some tricky but fun puzzles and find the cake. It plays off in a futuristic laboratory and has an extremely fun storyline to experience, probably one of my favorite from this era. The game also offers a nearly unbeatable couch co-op experience where you play as 2 robots each with a portal gun and have to solve complex puzzles together. This game is definitely worth a play, and if this list was in any particular order, it would probably be in the top 50. While cake is on your mind, let's talk about how everyone loves cake, including princesses.
Trust me on this one, I've done my research.
Fat Princess is one of my favorite games from the PlayStation 3 era, and it is sad that the experience hasn't made its way to modern platforms yet.
But why am I telling you about this when I can just show you?